Since tax year 2019, there's been a question on the Form 1040 or its associated schedules asking each taxpayer to certify whether or not they have any cryptocurrency, any virtual currency in their possession, or if during the year they had any. And that leads to this video, which answers the question, if I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other cryptocurrency, do I have to report that and pay income tax on it? And the question is yes and maybe. In other words, if you had crypto or virtual currency, and for the rest of this video, I'm just going to call it crypto. If you had crypto during the tax year, you have to answer that question about whether or not you had any during the tax year. You have to answer that question truthfully. If you fail to answer that question truthfully, it could be a problem and it could be interpreted as fraud by the IRS. When you sign a tax return, you're actually signing it under penalties of perjury, and you're certifying that everything that you said is true and correct. Now, I've had some clients who had very small holdings of crypto, $300, $200, that kind of thing. And they weren't used to the question being on the tax return. And so they inadvertently answered no to that question. Do I think that that's, correct? No, I don't think it's actually really technically correct. And I have advised for them to go back and amend their tax returns when they inadvertently answered no to yes. Do I think you're likely to get in trouble for a no with a very small amount of cryptocurrency and you inadvertently answer the question wrong? No, I don't. Now that leads me to the question about whether or not you have to pay taxes on your crypto. And I said the answer was maybe. Crypto is not treated like cash. It's treated as a capital asset. So it's a lot more analogous to a stock. When you purchase crypto, let's say you purchase $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. There's a concept called basis, and your basis in that Bitcoin will be $1,000. Now, when you go to sell the Bitcoin, and let's say you sell it and you completely cash out your entire position for $1,200, you would have to, your basis is $1,000. Your total sale was $1,200. Therefore, your profit is $200. And you have to pay capital gains tax on that $200. Now, the next question would be, is that a short-term capital gain or a long-term capital gain? A short-term capital gain is a year or less. A long-term capital gain is more than a year. So what's the difference? A short-term capital gain just gets added on to your ordinary income and you're taxed at whatever rate your income is being taxed at during that tax year. It can be as high as 37%. Now, long-term capital gains are more advantageous. They're taxed at a rate of 20%. And so when possible, you always want to have your assets treated as long-term capital gains just for that particular tax advantage that you have. And I think the IRS incentivizes long-term capital gains in order to, this is just speculation, but I think it's in order to have more stable markets and have less speculation going on. And the same rules apply to the stock market with regard to long-term capital gains and short-term capital gains. So the answer is a maybe on the crypto, because if you just buy crypto and hold it, you don't have to report that on a tax return until you sell it. So that's why it's very important that you understand what your basis is when you buy capital assets, because you may hold on to those capital assets for many years. Think about home sales are generally treated in the same way. You may own a home for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, or 5 years. We don't really know. And so you want to keep those basis records so that when it does come time to sell, that you'll have those records available so you don't have to pay capital gains on the entire amount of the sale. Hopefully this video has answered some of the questions that you had about taxes and Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. If you'd like more information about this type of thing, or really anything having to do with IRS tax resolution, I invite you to visit our website at getirshelp.com.